Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopijana Balabha Girivardhari Gopijana Balabha Girivardhari Gopijana Balabha Girivardhari Girivardhari Yasodhanandana Brajajanaranjana Brajajanaran Yasodhanandana Brajajanaranjana Yasodhanandana Brajajanaranjana Jamunatira Vanachadi Jamunatira Vanachad Jamunatira Vanachadi Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopijana Balabha Girivardhari Gopijana Balabha Girivardhari Gopijana Balabha Girivardhari Gopijana Balabha Girivardhari Jasodhanandana Brajajanaranjana Jasodhanandana Brajajanaranjana Brajajanaran Jamanatira Vanachadi Jamanatira Vanachadi Jamunatira Vanachadi Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jayom Vishnu Pad Paramahansa Parivajagacharya Astatarasatasi Srimad His Divine Grace Sri Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Gora Premanandi Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya This is a long chapter, isn't it? Chapter 38, Canto 10. This is Akrura's experience. Now he's reached Vrindavan, and he's seeing Krishna. That beautiful narration of the darshan of Krishna. So rather than reading the entire 6 verses, I'm just going to now go next to where references are made from some portion of those 6 verses in other parts of the Bhagavatam in commentary. So this is a Jiva Goswami commentary on prayers to Krishna within the womb. And in this chapter 2 of Canto 10, Krishna speaking to Yogamaya. This is before his appearance, after the 7th child is transferred by Yogamaya. Oh, all auspicious Yogamaya, I shall then appear in different forms as the sons of Devaki and Yashoda, and you will reside in Yashoda, the wife of Maharaj Nanda. Then very soon after this, the Lord says he will appear as the son of Devaki. Later it will be explained that Baladev was only slightly older in birth. It's kind of a mystery, right? The 7th son of Devaki was Balaram. And Balaram is only slightly, few number of days, older than Krishna. It's a mystery, right? So what happened was after the child was transferred to the womb of Rohini, that child was in the womb of Rohini for a long time. Some number of months, I forget. 10, 11 months, something like that, before Balaram was born. Durga may ask, that's Yogamaya being transformed into Durga. What is my qualification for being born to Yashoda? Krishna says, O auspicious one, Shubhe, by my order you attain auspiciousness, and thus you have attained qualification. That's all it takes. This is a benediction. This means she will be able to bewilder Nanda and others. The word Shubhe also suggests, because you will appear in Yashoda. Let's do some social distancing. Come sit up here. Come sit up in the front, or whatever the social distancing permits. The word Shubhe also suggests, quote, because you will appear in Yashoda, you will have fame, Yashaha, and bliss, Nanda, Yashoda Nanda. The confidential meaning is this. Pretty confidential already. Jiva Goswami explains, without different forms, bhagena and anksha, or it's going to be with different forms, bhagena and anksha, I will appear as the son of Devaki and also as the son of Yashoda. Do you get it? Krishna appeared both as the son of Devaki and as the son of Yashoda. What he's explaining is Yashoda had twins. And one would think a woman going through childbirth with twins would know it's been twins. But Yogamaya, she thought it was just a female child. But it was twins. You with me? Sridhar Swami explains that the word Shvangshena in the verse, this is the verse that we were discussing, what Akrura saw in the pasturing ground. He saw Krishna and Balaram. Avatir now, Jagati, Arte, Shvangsena, Bala, Keshavam. He saw Balaram and Keshava, or Krishna. And their Shvangsena means with their distinct forms. Commentary continues. So Krishna is instructing Yogamaya. This is going back to 10.2.9. Krishna is instructing Yogamaya. And you will be present in Yashoda, Bhavishyati, but not as her daughter. This meaning can be understood because of the use of different verbs. Prapya, prapi, sami, and bhavishyati, two different verbs. And if the same verb were used for both statements, then it would be understood that Durga would be born as the son of Yashoda, but calling a girl a son must be rejected by resorting to normal usage of as Shruti statements, like Pumang Sam Putram Adehi, place a son with Vishnu's form in the womb. But he's speaking to Yogamaya. Just as Devaki carried the Lord in her heart, Devaki carried Krishna within her heart. That's a statement from Canto 10, Chapter 2 of these same prayers to the demigods, prayers by the demigods. And Yashoda also carried the Lord. Just as I take Devaki as a mother, I also take Yashoda as my mother. Shukadev will describe this later. What's that? Krishna appeared as Nanda's son. Canto 10, Chapter 5, verse number 1. Thus, Yogamaya, you will just make a show of your potency, since you are Maya. So, just what did we just read? That's Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur in 10th Canto, Chapter 2, Krishna's instructing of Yogamaya, making reference to a verse that's in Chapter 38, what Akrura saw, and the reference specifically is in relation to the two, Shvangsena, Sva, Angsa. So, Krishna and Balaram. And both, we heard yesterday, both Krishna and Balaram are given the same position of Jagat Pati, the lords of the universe. They're the creators of the universe and the lords of the universe. They're Jagat Pati. So, Jiva Goswami is helping us understand the scriptural reference that lead him and other acharyas to the same conclusion. Vishwanath reaches the same conclusion, that Krishna was born simultaneously, same evening. Krishna was born from the womb of Devaki, and Krishna was born from the womb of Yashoda, son of Nanda and Yashoda. And this instruction of Krishna, empowerment of Krishna to Yogamaya, Shubhe, empowering her with the auspiciousness to do something so amazing like this. He's letting her know, but Yashoda will not know. Nanda Maharaj will not know. They will not know. They will assume Krishna is their son. Later they're going to hear, later they're going to hear from different sources, Krishna is the son of Vasudeva and Devaki. Now, Balaram is understood to be the son of Rohini, but their possessiveness, mamata is the Sanskrit word. The acharyas translated as possessiveness. He is my son. And they can't, Nanda can't think otherwise. Whatever he hears, Vasudeva Devaki, yeah. He's my son. He's my son. Not only by, birth, by biological event, seemingly biological event, but by his bhav, by his ecstasy. He can't see otherwise. This is his mamata, or possessiveness, or the sweetness of his pet, that he's overwhelmed by that. He can't think otherwise. Even there's information and authorities saying he can't go there. And Krishna did appear as his son. Eternally. Eternally. That's Krishna's position in Krishna Loka. He's their son. And then there's a pastime that he appears as their son. Now sometimes, so this esoteric detail is not often emphasized. He's the foster child of Nanda and Yasoda. That's common. Foster child. Adopted or cared for as the son of someone else, then he's just adopted. So the foster child of Nanda and Yasoda. But he doesn't think that way. And so Jiva Goswami, here Jiva Goswami is giving us one of many, many, many different explanations that come in the course of commentaries that give scriptural authority for this conclusion. So moving along. Next is another section of Jiva Goswami's commentary called Priti Sandarbha. We had a little discussion the other day about the distinction and similarity of Priti and Prema. We're in ISKCON, we're used to hearing the word Prema. There's 3 stages of bhakti: Sambandha, Abhideya, and Prayojana. Establishing a relationship, acting within the relationship, the fruit of that relationship. Prema Prayojana. The fruit of bhakti is Prema. The mature fruit is Prema. That's what we're accustomed to hearing. Jiva Goswami likes the word Priti. And in one sense, they're interchangeable. Obviously, because there's 2 words, there's some distinction, although they're interchangeable. And my sense from reading his commentary, it implies, Priti implies specifically the affective feeling element of one who has achieved the stage of Prema. Now, if he was sitting in the room, he might say, no, that's not it. But that's my understanding. The affective component of one who has attained the stage of Prema, or whatever the rasa. Prema rasa has an affective element. That's the feeling that touches the heart. So Priti Sandarbha is the concluding Sandarbha of Jiva Goswami's writings on the Bhagavatam that explain the nature of Priti. So here's one section that makes reference to these verses of what Akrura saw in the pasturing ground of Krishna and Balaram, looking the way that they did, and his understanding how that struck his heart, and so on. So in Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 10, Chapter 35, Text 25, Chapter 35 of Canto 10 is called in Krishna book Song of the Gopis. And what the chapter is, from beginning to end, it's the feelings that the gopis have when Krishna goes out with the cowherd boys and the cows in the pasturing ground. Their feelings of love for Krishna, specifically his flute and how his flute touches the hearts of everybody in Vrindavan. The trees, River Jamuna, the birds, the thises and the that's. It starts with the sound of Krishna's flute. He's calling the cows. And then they describe how that flute sound moves the hearts of even inanimate objects. The Shantaras, Shanta Bhaktas. They become ecstatic and the stones melt and the river raises her arms, reaching for some dust from the feet of Krishna to come land on her arms, and so forth and so on. The birds, peacocks dance, the animals standing on the hilltops, seeing the dancing and hearing the sound of the flute. Anyway, that's chapter 35. So many nice things. So in that chapter, verse 25, it was said that Lord Krishna delighted the people of Braja and delivered them from their sufferings. This is confirmed by the following words spoken by the goddess-like gopis of Braja in Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 10, Chapter 21. Quote, "O friend, Vrindavan is spreading the glory of the earth, having obtained the treasure of the lotus feet of Krishna, the son of Devaki." Now notice, they're saying the son of Devaki, not the son of Yashoda and Nanda. So they've got some inside information. Anyway, the peacocks dance madly when they hear Govinda's flute, and when other creatures see them from the hilltops, they all become stunned. In another part of this chapter 35, it says, the gopis say, "O girls, the son of Nanda, who gives joy to the distressed, bears steady lightning on his chest." That's the mark of Srivatsa. They see it as steady lightning. Something similar to what Akrura saw. And has a smile like a jeweled necklace. Now please hear something wonderful. When he vibrates his flute, Braja's bulls, deer, and cows, standing in groups at a great distance, are all captivated by that sound, and they stop chewing the food in their mouths and cock their ears, stunned. They appear as if asleep or like figures in a painting. Now the devotional dasya rasa, or servitorship, will be considered. So we're going to get a little inventory. We mentioned it the other 2 days ago, but it's a little inventory of different categories of Krishna's friends. So there's 5 primary rasas. One of them is servitorship, and then another is friendship. So we're going to hear some details about categories of servitors. It's interesting. In this rasa, dasya rasa, the stimulation of ecstatic love is Lord Krishna in his feature as a master. The object of service is Lord Krishna, and the servitors are the glorious servants who directly participate in the Lord's pastimes. So Alambana, little nectar devotion class. Alambana has 2 parts. the abode of love and the object of love. So the devotees are the Dasya Bhaktas. That's the vessel in their heart. That's the vessel that carries this mood of love towards the object as Krishna. As in the previous rasa, in this rasa, Lord Krishna manifests two kinds of forms. One, the form of the opulent supreme controller, majesty. Parameshvara, Akara. And the second is a glorious human-like form, Nara, Akara. Some servants serve the first of these forms, and other servants serve the other. Some like and are attracted to, and therefore Krishna shows his majestic form. Some like, and so Krishna shows his human-like form. Then there are three kinds of servants that apparently have both of those categories of the object. So this is Ashraya and Vishaya. The Vishaya has been described, majestic or human-like. Now is the abode of love, the servants themselves. There are servants who serve the Lord's body, Anga Sevaka. There are servants who act as the Lord's associates, Parshada. And 3, servants the Lord sends on specific missions, Preshya. Got it? They serve his body. They act as the Lord's associates, Parshadas, and some go on missions for him, Preshya. Those who serve his body, the Anga Sevaka servants, anoint the Lord's body with fragrant ointments, offer the Lord betel nuts and fragrant scents, dress the Lord in exquisite garments, and serve him in many other ways. That's the Anga Sevakas. Then the others, his associates, Parshadas. Their servants become the Lord's advisor, chariot driver, a general of his army, a judge in his judicial system, an administrator of parts of his kingdom. And they also assume many other duties. With their great learning and expertise, they delight the Lord's royal conclave, the Parshadas. Because of his exalted position, the Lord's priests are counted among his gurus. Thus, the Lord's priest is among his Parshada associates, because they're in the mood of serving. That's their bhakti. They're in this, exalted, but their mood is Parshada. Then those that go on missions, the Preshyas, include the Lord's chariot driver, so he's listed twice, foot soldiers, artisans, and others, as were the previously mentioned servants. These servants are all very dear to the Lord. Here's some examples. Sri Uddhava, Daruka, and others, who very closely serve the Lord, are the most dear of the Lord's servitors. Lord Krishna says to Uddhava in Srimad Bhagavatam, Uddhava Gita, Canto 11, Tvam me bhrutya suhrit sakha. Oh, Uddhava, you are my servant, well-wisher, and friend. So he's in two rasas, or mixed, servant and friend. In this rasa, the stimulations, or udipans, are the same as were previously described. For the Anga Sevakas, again, those are serving his body. The Lord's qualities include, this is the stimulations for those that serve him bodily, his handsomeness, delicateness, and other qualities. The Lord's activities, where they're serving him bodily, include his eating, sleeping, and other similar activities. And the Lord's paraphernalia include the articles used to serve the Lord and the remnants of what has been enjoyed by the Lord. That's the first of the three categories, those that are served him bodily. Then come his confidential associates. For the Parshada servants, the Lord's qualities include his status as the Supreme Master and many other qualities. For the Preshya, messenger ones, the Lord's qualities include his power, glory, and other qualities. Here, the Anubhavas. Anubhava means a bodily transformation. They're in the stage of prema, and they're experiencing bodily transformations in that ecstatic mood of serving. Where did we go? Here, the Anubhavas are primarily, as were described before, directly associating with the Lord. The servants perform their respective duties. If trembling or becoming stunned or other ecstatic symptoms become manifest in them when they perform their duties in serving the Lord, the servants lament. Why? They're ecstatic. So why are they lamenting? It's interfering with their service. They're trembling and perspiring and becoming stunned. One of the celebrated examples in Nectar Devotion is Daraka, who's fanning. And as he's fanning, his body, is he's feeling ecstasy. He's trying to check the ecstasy because it's interfering with his fanning. They lament. The Lord's servants are very extraordinary. For them, ecstatic symptoms are both common and powerful. Even when the Lord is not present, Dasya Rasa is very powerful and exalted. When the Lord is not present, his servants continue to perform their duties of serving him. Here, the Sanchari Bhavas, just going through the list of Rupa Goswami's teachings, Sanchari Bhavas are steady ecstasies, like a wave that just stays up. The Sthai Bhava is service with devotion. For Akrura, he's a Dasya Bhakta. For Akrura and others like him, knowledge of the Lord's power and opulence is prominent. For Uddhava and others like him, knowledge of the Lord's sweetness is prominent. The Lord's servants in Braja know only the Lord's sweetness and nothing else. Their devotion is very great. They worship Lord Krishna because he is Braja's prince, because he has a host of transcendental qualities, and because he is supremely glorious. About Akrura in Srimad Bhagavatam, now here's the reference. This is from that section that we've been reading the last few days. The darshan that Akrura has of Krishna in the pasturing ground after he finally reaches Braja, and he sees Krishna. Dadarsha Krishnam Ramam Cha Braje Go Dohanam Gatau. Translation. Akrura then saw, here's the whole darshan. Akrura then saw Krishna and Balaram in the village of Braja, going to milk the cows. Krishna wore yellow garments, Balaram blue, and their eyes resembled autumnal lotuses. One of those two mighty armed youths, the shelter of the goddess of fortune, had a dark blue complexion, and the other was white. With their fine-featured faces, they were the most beautiful of all persons. As they walked with the gait of young elephants, glancing about with compassionate smiles, those two exalted personalities beautified the cow pasture with the impressions of their feet, which bore the marks of the flag, lightning bolt, elephant goad, and lotus. The two lords, whose pastimes are most magnanimous and attractive, were ornamented with jeweled necklaces and flower garlands, anointed with auspicious fragrant substances, freshly bathed, and dressed in spotless, this word raiment again, garments. They were dual. They were the primeval supreme personalities, the masters and the original causes of the universes, who had, for the welfare of the earth, now descended in their distinct forms of Keshava and Balaram. Oh, King Parikshit, they resembled two gold-bedecked mountains, one of emerald and the other of silver, as with their effulgence they dispelled the sky's darkness in all directions. Very beautiful. In this part of the Lord's pastimes, Akrura saw the Lord's sweetness. Later, Akrura saw the Lord's power and opulence manifest in a lake of the Jamuna. Right? That's when he's taking them. They stop and take their bath. He saw a reflection of them. For Akrura, seeing the Lord's wonderful power and opulence was more important than seeing his sweetness. That's from his perspective. That's his bhav. For Sri Uddhava, Lord Krishna's sweetness was more important. This is clearly seen in the words Uddhava spoke, glorifying the good fortune of the Goloka residents. That's when Uddhava visits chapter 45, 46. And he's just amazed at their bhakti, so he's overwhelmed with the sweetness aspect, whereas Akrura is seeing the divinity or opulence aspect more prominently. When the Lord was absent, Uddhava meditated on the sweetness of Lord Krishna's human-like pastimes. That's found in Canto 3, Chapter 2. So he's going to reference that. Thus he felt the pangs of separation from the Lord. Uddhava said, 3.2.16 gives the Sanskrit. This is our last section for this morning. Uddhava says, he's speaking to Vidura. Vidura's on pilgrimage. He meets up with Uddhava and he starts asking about Krishna. So Uddhava says, when I think of Lord Krishna, how he was born in the prison house of Vasudeva, although he is unborn, how he went away from his father's protection to Braja and lived there incognito out of fear of the enemy, and how, although unlimitedly powerful, he fled from Mathura in fear of all these bewildering incidents, gives me distress. That's the end. And the explanation of his distress is that common people that hear about these pastimes of Krishna, even during his time, what to speak of today, they think of Krishna as an ordinary person. That gives him great pain. Very painful. because he has such love for Krishna, and who can think of Krishna as ordinary? But the emphasis is this sweetness aspect for Uddhava. So we've just gotten a mini depiction of um, the rasa of servitorship, and Akrura fits into that category. It's stated, specifically in the verse by Shukadeva Goswami. Now it's being just expanded on. He has a particular type of servitorship, dasya, bhakti, and it's a nice picture that there's all variety in the spiritual realm, and so different devotees are moved to love in different ways by different stimuluses, and their hearts are moved in different ways, being stimulated, although they may see the same Lord. A classic example of this, repeated over and over, is when Krishna enters the wrestling arena of Kamsa. And there's 11 or 12 different persons that they're seeing the same thing, and they see something different. I mean, it's not uncommon that the observers of something or other report having experienced that something or other differently based upon their subjective consciousness. But this is now specifically about rasa. Or even, so that the first of those explanations is the wrestlers, Chanur and Mushtaka, saw him as a lightning bolt. Like, here he comes. So did they exactly see a lightning bolt or like a lightning bolt? How did the yogis that were in that assembly, they saw him as Paramatma walking across the wrestling arena. Some saw the Gyanis, saw the Brahmajyoti. There goes this light moving across. Kamsa saw him as death personified. What does death personified look like? Etc. The elder ladies saw him as like a darling boy. Young girls saw him as Cupid, and so forth and so on. So he is stimulating, his presence stimulates different kinds of emotion, including, fear of death, etc., etc. So it's like Prabhupada's example of a police officer. A law-abiding citizen, when they see a police officer, they feel relief that we'll be protected because here's a police officer. And a criminal feels different than that. So that's just like, from the authority position. But then there's the sweetness position. And it's a very important part of the totality of what Krishna is. He's the embodiment of sweetness. He's the embodiment of rasa. Rasa Vaisaha. And so just going through this 10th canto chapter, 10th canto section of Bhagavatam, anyone can be in any position and be moved to attraction for the all attractive, according to each person's position. You know the story, Prabhupada tells the story of one man who was a thief, and he was sitting in a Bhagavad Katha session, and he heard that Krishna is very opulent. And he's just a little boy, so he thought, I should go to Vrindavan and try to find Krishna, and then I'll steal his jewels. So he went to Vrindavan, and he was searching, where is Krishna, where is Krishna, where is Krishna? And Krishna came before him because he wanted to see Krishna. And the man was clever. he said, I understand you're very opulent. Would you be so kind as to give me some of your jewels? And Krishna said, oh no, Mother Jasoda would never approve. So his mindset was a thief. But he had a chance to see the all-attractive Supreme Personality of Godhead. Because of his eagerness, even his motivation was stealing. Krishna reciprocated, gave his mercy. The man became purified by seeing Krishna. So what's our position? The practical application. Where our consciousness is, whatever our consciousness is. And there's some little attraction. Here we are, it's 7 o'clock in the morning getting together to hear Krishna's pastimes. And, so we could be doing some other things at 7 o'clock in the morning. But we're here to hear about Krishna because there's some faith. And that's how bhakti proceeds. Adau shraddha tata sadhusanga tata bhajana kriya. So wherever we are, that's where we are. And that we're exposing our hearing process to messages that do two things. They cleanse and they stimulate. Attraction for the all-attractive. Whatever our imperfections may be. There's some cleansing and some attraction for the all-attractive. And the eagerness, so we were discussing this yesterday evening, the eagerness for hearing makes a big difference. Not that any of these things that we've just described. I mean, some of it's a little bit new. Perhaps that different kinds of dasya bhaktas and what attracts them and what are the stimulations and so different variegatedness amongst the dasya bhaktas. So there's some information content, but the main thing is the stimulation of love and attraction for Krishna. And it's all variegated. Welcome to the world of unlimited variety of spiritual ecstasy. That's what we're being invited into by this process. Very merciful process. We're going to give our oral submission to something anyway. What souls do that have bodies. We have the chance to choose and receptively turn our receivers on for this Bhagavad Katha or Hari Katha. Very fortunate. Let's see if there's some discussion. It's already close to 8 o'clock.
Guru Maharaj, as you're saying, there's the 3 kinds of servants. So, Mother Yashoda also decorates Krishna, and in different rasas also this servitorship is present.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. It's a mood of wishing to serve Krishna, and everyone's wishing to serve Krishna. But there's additional layers of serving Krishna in this mood and that mood, this way, that way. Okay? Anything else?
Of that question, Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Hare Krishna.
Uh, when Vatsalya Bhav is more, it has the same servitorship. Why not Vatsalya Bhav? Why
Why
only?
not what?
Why not Vatsalya Bhav then?
Well,
Because
but she mentioned Mother Jasoda. That's Vatsalya Bhav.
yeah, Vatsalya Bhav has Dasya Bhav as well, right?
Yes.
Because
Yes.
so why not we do Vatsalya
Why
Bhav?
not what?
Why not we do Vatsalya Bhav?
Well, it depends on what your nature is. It's not like, spin the dial. There is an eternal relationship that all souls have with Krishna. Here's a seed. It's a marigold seed. Is it yellow or is it orange? Is it a small flower? Is it a medium flower or is one of those big flowers? It's all in the seed. You follow the example. Our relationship with Krishna is fixed. It's forgotten. It's covered like a seed is life that's covered and dormant. But it's already there. So why not is, whatever it is, that's what the answer is. Our relationship is what our relationship is. It's not we select it from a menu. I think I like that one. It is what it is.
For me, it's not like one thing. Sometimes I feel he's my father. Sometimes I feel he's.
That's okay. That's okay. Let that mature. When the coverings are cleared away, there can be a variety of emotions. That's okay. But a predominant emotion will evolve. It's going to be a yellow marigold or an orange one. We're still in the mixed and covered and so forth. So it's fine. Be inspired in many ways doesn't change what your constitutional position in relation to Krishna is. Okay?
Hare Krishna Maharaj. When we are chanting the holy name, it is said that it is begging for the service, the meaning of chanting of the holy name. And with that meditation, when we keep chanting, it's a mode of dasya rasa. So please engage me in your service. But I don't know how that service is going to manifest. But it's it becomes monotonous. And then yesterday we were talking about, like, when we are chanting Krishna's name, it's every time it's Krishna's name, it's a newer and newer eagerness and enthusiasm, but I am lacking that. So how do I keep up this begging for service, newer and newer ways, not knowing how that's going to manifest?
Well, just to take up, not knowing how it's going to manifest is not a problem. I don't see it as a problem. We're adventuresome souls. If we weren't adventuresome souls, we'd be not at all even here. We'd be doing, fruitive activities because that's where the honey is. Get money, that's where the honey is. That's what we'd be doing. So we're adventuresome souls. So not knowing what it's going to look like, what that newer is going to look like, that's part of the adventure of bhakti. However, there's a principle, whatever it's going to look like, and that's a sense of connection. And like her question, the sense of connection may at one time be like this, may another time be like that. Get connected. So now, that's your question specifically is without knowing what the newer is going to look like. But how to get beyond the mechanical, and it has everything to do with what we discussed yesterday also, which is, what's the purpose? or if we put it, when you put your hand in your bead bag and you start chanting, why? Sankalpa. What's the intention? And that focuses attention. Supposing you don't have sankalpa clear, what's your attention going to be like? Distracted. A blur. So we don't have it. That's why it's not newer and newer. We have some faith. That's why we're chanting. But as faith matures, faith in what? And even the goal is far away. Let's say prema. So that's too far. What's an intermediate goal? The sense of being connected, or the sense of being in service, whatever it is. Service. That's what servant and master are. The relationship. Now we're not. In this case, it's not rasa. It's not dasya rasa. We're like stuck in dasya rasa. It's a mood, and whatever the rasa is, it's the mood of service. In service to the name, in service to Krishna, who is no different than the name. And that's cultivating a spiritual conception of who we are through the medium of what we do. It starts in how you engage yourself with Mahamantra, and then how you engage yourself with the hearing of other topics. That was our discussion yesterday evening also. That newer and newer appreciation isn't there for me. And, how to get to the newer and newer appreciation. It has everything to do with, when I get my car and start to drive somewhere, where am I going? And why am I going to where I'm going? What's its intention of going from point A to point B? Not just put it in your GPS and you go. And when you're anticipating, this is, the whole chapter. This is Akrura is anticipating. So what are you anticipating? I mean, it's not like, you can get an A in your Bhakti Shastri by filling in the right answer in the blank space. But it's from the heart level. And it takes time to cultivate that. It's not like you don't have it, or none of us have 0, but we don't have 10 either. So we cultivate. And that's bhakti. Krishna is to be pleased. Not I'm to be pleased. I want newer and newer, experiences, enjoyments. The doorway is Krishna is to be pleased. That's the door. That's what service means. And whatever that is, whatever the experience is, newer, whatever it is, that's the adventure. That's the mood of the servant towards the master. That's the essence of, as you put it at the very beginning of your question, that's the meaning and the power of the holy name, that Mahamantra. Please engage me in your service. Not cultivating rasa number 2. It's cultivating a mood of a relationship, the connectivity. Yoga. Bhakti yoga. Cultivation of a mood of service to Krishna. Okay, so I think I'll end there. Thank you very much. Prabhupada ki jai.